What is going on? Happy Friday. Woodward Bets back in the house talking everything in the sports world. Here I am, Beer, joined by my boy Scott, as always, ready to break down some sports. I'll take a look at what we saw last night. Scott, another Pistons bummer of a game. I mean, blown out once again, but that comes with the territory when you're a rebuilding team. But excited to take a look at everything going on here in the sports world. Be NBA heavy today. 9 games on the docket, but lots to do, lots to talk about. Scott, how are we doing, my man?
Oh, it's Friday. The only thing you can
Yes,
complain
it
about is that
is.
stinking bitter-ass cold weather we have out there. I mean, it's so cold, Chris, it just goes right through you. And it's like when my hands don't want to work, or it's just like, man, I went to go use an ATM machine. I was just leaning out of my truck, and I was thinking, man, my hands are so cold, it's hard to push the stinking buttons. But yeah, those Pistons, Chris. I mean, we kind of called it yesterday. I kind of had a feeling that blowout was there, that potential was there. And we were kind of talking before show. I kind of recommended John Morant under that 26.5 point prop. And there he's sitting there at 22. I'm like, how frustrating is that if you're on the over of that? He's sitting there with 22, like middle of the third quarter. And then, bam, he's just not coming back in the game. I mean, if you're at home, I think that's where the remote has a chance for the batteries to go flying across the room at least once or twice.
I mean, it used to be the whole remote for me, not just the batteries. I mean, I went through a few remotes in my day. I get a little older, you calm down a little bit, but yeah, I've had many of those, and it goes both ways. You were on the under, and you kind of predicted how that was going to go, and you were happy for him to sit his ass on the bench. So as far as my Cade Cunningham prop, did not get there, of course. The Pistons again coming up short. Best bets last night, 2-2. So 500 is what it is. It's certainly nothing we're going to be proud of, but we've had worse days. So we'll get back to it here again tonight with more best bets. Again, 9 games in the NBA tonight. So we'll be talking a ton of NBA. I'll be looking at NFL as well. Tomorrow, you'll have Scott and Beastie breaking everything down. There's some college hoops. There's 2 NFL games, a lot going on. And then Sunday morning, Scott and I back at it talking NFL Week 18. A ton of action, a ton of great games, all the drama leading into the playoffs. So we'll have you covered on that one. 9 a.m. for both of those shows, Saturday and Sunday. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit that thumbs up button, guys. Really helps us out. The chat's been very interactive here over the last couple days. I'm going to try to get back, hang out more in the chat here during the show, trying to keep an eye on a bunch of different stuff. But we appreciate the interaction with you guys. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Woodward Bets. And Scott, let's start. You got Harbaugh on the whiteboard. We always start with the whiteboard. If you missed the show the other day, we had Dan Bach of Roto Grinders, a good friend of both of ours, join the show. We talked a little bit about Jim Harbaugh, but Scott, any updates, any changes in your thoughts here? What's going to happen here? I think we're kind of in waiting to see. Is Michigan going to make a move and lock this guy up? Is he out there seeing what's out there in the NFL? What's going on here with Harbaugh?
Yeah, I mean, what's curious to me though, Chris, is obviously when Mel Tucker got his money, majority of that came from some boosters who ponied up to give him and keep him there. Which, I mean, if you follow Michigan football, it's pretty clear to you who the big booster is, and that is Ross. So, the owner of the Dolphins. So for me, is he a believer in him? I mean, obviously as the NFL circles, the connections there. I mean, obviously we haven't seen anything like that with the university. Maybe they're holding back there, but you would think that after a season like they had and getting them to the pinnacle of college football, that maybe some of these boosters would step up. So I don't know if there's like something going on. Generally where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, who would have thought Brian Kelly was going to leave and go to LSU? Who thought Lincoln Riley was going to just up and pack and go to USC? I mean, there's just been situations that you hear, you're like, I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, Harbaugh's been around long enough to know that I think we all know. I mean, I think he's the kind of guy that would be difficult for me to get along with on a regular basis. Like, he just seems like he would rub you the wrong way at times. He's probably a really good guy most of the time, but it just seems like, I don't know. He just seems to be quirky at times for me. So I don't know if there's, some turmoil down there or what, but we'll see. But for me, not seeing any of these big boosters or anybody step up or hearing anything like that, or, I think that is what would be concerned for me at this point.
Yeah, okay, we'll keep our ear to the ground and see what happens. I'm with Dan. I think you're in the same camp. We all think he stays here with Michigan. I think he's got a good thing going, coming off the best year that they've had under Jim Harbaugh. I don't think you can even argue that. So you're going to have some losses for sure, but I think that gains notoriety. You're playing in that Final Four. Even if you get blown out, you still made it. You're Big Ten champs, had some great momentum at the end of the season. So I think he's doing it the right way here. The NFL is always a temptation to get back and show you can coach at that high level, but I think he's got a good thing going here. So I would expect him back
One thing
on that Michigan sideline next season.
One thing I think is going to change that all, though, Chris, is this new NIL situation we have with college football. I mean, if it's going to become a money thing where we're going to start throwing money at recruits, I mean, let's be real. University of Michigan has the deepest pockets in all of college football. So at that point, I mean, if a guy like Daniel Ross is going to give U of M millions of dollars per year for recruits, and then they become a juggernaut, I mean, if it becomes about money, which it looks like it's going to be, Chris, I mean, he's in a pretty good spot. I mean, I think there's only a handful of universities that, I haven't looked at, any kind of statistics lately about far as the wealth of the alumni, but I do know Michigan for quite some time has always been on the top or close to the top. So to me, I mean, you're almost in a situation like the NFL now where there's no salary cap at this point and you can just go out and spend and get whatever you want. I think that's what's going to start happening in college football as the years go on here if this NIL thing does not change. And if it is the Wild West, man, Chris, I don't know what college football is going to turn into. But I know you and I want to talk about this Charlie Batch and why I'm wearing the E shirt. And that's a pretty good segue in this NIL thing here. But, I mean, man, what do you think of that? You're an Eastern guy, Chris. I mean, when you heard this, I mean, were you smiling like my university's stepping up here and bringing out some cash? I mean, Chris, they were just getting slammed 5-6 years ago that their program was going to fail. They didn't have enough funds, that they were going to have to – they were basically going to go out of business. And they didn't, shine away from kids. And, man, Chris Creighton has turned this program around over there at Eastern to where now, they got a new field, new fancy weight rooms, and, they're pulling kids in left and right, been the bowl games. And now they got alumni coming back offering $1 million to the number one portal guy in all of college football. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, I saw the story this morning and thought it was very interesting, and it certainly ties into what we're talking about, like you mentioned, with college football. And this NIL thing is really going to change the game. But Charlie Batch, some of you may know the name, some of you may not, former NFL quarterback, a journeyman, was all over the league, most notably his years in Pittsburgh. But Eastern Michigan is where he did his quarterbacking in college. Now works for a financial institution or hedge fund. I forget exactly what, but a pretty lucrative backing behind this company. And they came out on Twitter, and Caleb Williams, of course, the quarterback for Oklahoma, who started the season as a backup. It was Spencer Rattler was the hot name. I remember watching, I forget which show on Netflix, QB1 or one of those. He was featured on that. Was a Heisman candidate. I mean, he was supposed to be the next big thing and ends up getting benched. Caleb Williams takes over, and, the rest is history. But Caleb Williams enters the transfer portal, surprisingly. I mean, that one was the most shocking of any name I've seen in there. Now, he's not ruling out a return to Oklahoma. We know Lincoln Riley, his coach, left to take the job at USC, so there are options. But Charlie Batch comes out on Twitter and says, we'll offer you $1 million to come play at Eastern for one season. So, Scott, I got to ask the question here. I mean, if a young kid, $1 million, now with what Caleb Williams showed this season, obviously has NFL potential. $1 million could be a drop in a bucket as far as what he could sign as an NFL contract. So, this likely does not happen. I mean, it's a very slim chance. He says, yeah, give me the $1 million. I'm coming to Ypsilanti. I'm playing for Eastern Michigan. But are we going to see more and more of this? And where does it stop? How high? How much money does it take? And is this the way it's going to be moving forward? I just found this very interesting. And smaller schools, this may be what you need to do to compete. So, but again, how much money is there to throw around at recruits? Do you start paying everybody? I don't know if this is good or bad yet. It's great for the kids. Capitalize when you can. I've always been a big proponent of that. If a kid is good enough out of high school to go be a a nautical engineer or a doctor or whatever, and doesn't necessarily need the schooling. Why do we do different with athletes? Why do we feel like they have to be a certain age? They have to, be in school for so many years. I mean, if a kid's good enough to do a job, I think they should be allowed to do that. You always have the option to go back to school. But thoughts on this and this whole NIL situation?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I'll say this. If Dion and Jackson State can pull the number one recruit, Chris, why can't Eastern pull this kid to Yipsy? I mean, to me, I think he's going to be an NFL prospect regardless. I think we agree there. And also, if he plays in the MAC, Chris, he would absolutely light them up. He could literally probably set records there. He's going to stand out even more. And then you know that you're going to have this starting job. They're paying you $1 million. They're going to play you. They're not. You don't have to worry about going to Lincoln Riley, where I'm sure they have some capable quarterbacks there that you're going to have to come in and potentially beat out. I mean, that is also, a situation too. But I mean, this kid is supposed to be a special talent. He's obviously the number one talent in the portal. But yeah, good for Eastern. I mean, even if he doesn't go there, you just put yourself out there that you're willing to build this program, and especially for your fans, your alumni. I think it shows a lot. Like we mentioned, I mean, they were on the brink of potentially going bankrupt. But I saw the dad on Twitter also, though, Chris said his main focus for Caleb would be to have a guy that he thinks would groom his son to be a NFL quarterback. And, I can't say that Chris Creighton has, the resume as far as getting guys into the quarterback. I think that last quarterback, I want to say it was Rotterbach or somebody like that. I believe he actually got a shot at an NFL job. We've seen Crosby make it to the NFL and be an All-Pro. We've seen a few other Eastern players, and I know Chris Creighton. I've met him a few times. Our daughters played soccer together. He's a great guy. If I had a son I thought was a potential college athlete, I've actually told some of my friends whose sons are pretty good at high school football that if you were fortunate enough, if Chris Creighton coaching your son, that would be a good thing. That guy is 100% of a good human being. I mean, I think he's a good role model, good leader. Then you're going to get to play. You're going to get $83,000, Chris. Just give it to him in the center of the field at the end of every game. Just hand him a big old check, like the Publisher Clearinghouse check. Hand it to him right at the center of the field. Thanks, kid. We'll see you next game. But, yeah, interesting move. But, again, Chris, I think this is the beginning of what we're going to see in college football. I mean, it's going to get crazy. I mean, just imagine this. Imagine it like high school basketball, Chris, and you got a guy like Chris Webber. Remember? Or somebody like that is like Monty Bates, like one of these kids is just a standout number one recruit in the country. Can you imagine what's going to go on behind the scenes with schools like Duke and Michigan and North Carolina and all these big – I mean, man, the money that's going to be thrown around behind the scenes is, the businesses, local businesses sponsoring this kid. I mean, it's going to get crazy, I think, here. I think this is just – Chris, I think this is the first raindrop of the storm here. I think we just felt the first sprinkle before the storm really hits. So it's going to get interesting here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of sides, a lot of angles to this. It's great for the kids to be able to capitalize on that. It's great for the schools that have the money to be able to do stuff like this, but it makes the job harder on the schools that don't, or, the schools that want to be old school and will say, do it right. I know a lot of this goes on behind the scenes. We know that we're not ignorant to what college sports has become, but what makes it any different now than professional sports? If these guys can just offer any kind of money, come to my school, it's similar to free agency. So we'll see how it all plays out. I just thought this was interesting. We'll be talking a lot more about this over the next weeks, months, and years, of course, and see. I don't know how I feel about it yet, Scott. Normally I'm very opinionated on how I feel about things. This, I'm still debating both sides. I try to look at all angles from things before I make a decision on stuff. I don't know if this is a good thing or not. Again, I like it for the kids. The schools should not make all the money off your likeness, your ability, things like that. Jersey sales, whatever it may be, autographs. These kids should be able to profit off of that. But again, we're turning college sports now into a business. basically a minor league system to the pro leagues, which it is in a lot of ways already. But we'll see. A lot of this still to come down the pike. But
do you feel this could lead for youth sports to potentially have where money's involved? Because now it's one layer down further from where it was before to where it was a professional type franchise where you could get money. Now in Europe, European soccer is really good. These kids start to get paid at an early age to play in some of these travel type teams. So, Chris, I think that's going to be a whole nother thing that could become of this. I mean, scouting now is going to be huge. I mean, to find these kids, I mean, that's going to be big. Now, if you and I want to go around to all these high school football games and we recommend kids to these colleges and then they become big, I mean, I'm sure these colleges, that's going to become even a bigger business, Chris. So I think opportunities are going to arise from this. There's more money now involved, and I think it is getting closer to the youth programs. So I think now that you could possibly see some of this money start trickling into some of these youth programs too. So going to be interesting, as we mentioned. I'm kind of looking forward to see how this plays out.
Well, hey, I got 3 young softball players, all looking for scholarships here. So anyone wants to drop any bags on the porch, I'm certainly listening, half joking, of course. But Scott, it's Friday. We have not done this for a while, but we're going to bring back Beers with Beer here. So we've been talking for a while, but it's time to shine the light here on another local brewery, another local beer. The point of this is I know a lot of people out there, you're kind of stuck in their ways. They like the beers they like. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're doing a little experiment here with Scott. Scott, normally, I think Modelo, Corona, that's his lane here. I'm a craft beer guy. I like it all. I don't dislike Corona or any of that. I'll pretty much drink anything. But we want to see if we can expand Scott's horizons. I may find it helpful for some of you guys out there. Like, if he likes it, maybe I'll give it a shot. So just a little social experiment we're going to do. And how would you not love to have a beer while you're at work? I mean, that's the perks of the job here at Woodward Bet. So today's beer, we are going to focus locally as we always do, stay in Michigan here. One of the bigger breweries in the state is Founders Brewing. Tons of different offerings here, Scott. But I've mentioned before, it's January, it's cold. You want that warming type beer, and we won't get into barrel-aged beers just yet. Those are coming down the pike. We'll see how you do with those. But today's beer, see here, we'll get it on the camera here. Hopefully we can see this, Spencer. Maybe not. Can we go full screen? There we go. Founders Breakfast Stout here. Got a little light on the baby though. Man, Scott says creepy looking baby here.
Baby, some man hands.
With some giant hands, but Founders Breakfast Stout, one of my favorites. So double chocolate, coffee, oatmeal stout. Trying to find let's see, 8.3% here, Scott. So we're packing a little bit of punch, but this one basically coffee, chocolate, a little bit of cinnamon. So I'm going to pour mine in a glass.
What is
IBUs is International Bitter Units. I believe that's right. So the more IBUs, the more bitter the beer is. So 60s, a decent number. So it's going to be a little bitter. So I'm pouring mine in a glass here. Scott, give it a whirl. Let's get that first, like Dave Portnoy. First, one bite only. Everybody knows the rules. One drink only. What do you got?
Yeah, it's not bad. It definitely tastes like coffee. Can taste the chocolate in it, but yeah, it has a stronger coffee taste. Yeah, I don't mind the coffee taste at all. But yeah, it's not too bad.
And I, of course, am drinking out of my Green Bay Packers cup, seeing they are in town this weekend. So cheers to you. Cheers to everybody out there. Happy Friday. Yeah. Delicious. So we'll see how Scott does with that. We'll check back in with him. His first initial face is always the look I'm interested in, and it didn't tell a great story. So don't be BSing me, Scott. You don't like it? We cross it off the list. You're helping like thousands of people out here in the Metro Detroit area and beyond to see is Founders Breakfast Stout, a beer that I want to go out and try.
Yeah, it's not bad. I wouldn't. From what I'm used to, I wouldn't probably go there for my first choice. Now, I did think that M43 that we had was one that if I went to, wanted to switch it up, I think I could do that. I wouldn't say I'd put this on my, I'd go to the bar and get one. But if you handed me one when I was at your house or something, I would have no problem. I'd drink it down, and yeah, I don't mind it at all. It's kind of like the other one we had, the pale ale or whatever one which
Bell's
one we
Two
had last.
Hearted.
Yeah, the
Bell's
Two
Two
Hearted.
Hearted.
Yeah, that one was a little bit more bitter. Wasn't probably. I would say I like this one better than the Bells. How about
All
that?
right, so we got M43, we got the breakfast stout, then the Bell's. So I'm gonna be like your Pandora or Spotify here. I'm gonna zone in and find the stuff you like and get rid of the stuff you don't like. And again, if you guys have any recommendations for beers, we've had some great ones sent in. Feel free to reach out to us, whether you work at a particular brewery or not, or if you're just a big fan of a beer or a brewery. Please reach out. We're going to try to do this every Friday. We had the holidays kind of get in the way. Scott down in Miami, so reach out at Woodward Bets, DM at BeerMakersFan at G_Ryzen as well. So either of those will work. But Scott, let's get into some NFL news. Friday's always a big news day, and then we'll get into some NBA here tonight. Again, I got quite a few player props I'm liking, and I know the Cade Cunninghams and the Sadiq Bays have not been working for us, but those were blowout related. Now I get the whole slate of games to choose from. We're going to identify some bets that we're liking at the end of the show, but let's talk NFL here, Scott. Let's start with that Green Bay and Detroit game. You know, Aaron Rodgers continues to say, I want to play. Matt LaFleur saying, I don't think he needs to play. So the latest was they're planning to start. And I said this the other day. I think they'll start. I think they get a couple series, very reminiscent of a preseason game. Devontae Adams, I believe, is 22 yards short of the team record for receiving. So that's probably something they want to knock out, get accomplished. Where do you think this goes? I think a couple series, a quarter, a half at max, but I do think you see the starters here. But eventually they're going to sit down here for Green Bay. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually, I got to agree with you. I think they may only play actually the first quarter, Chris. They don't have anything to play for. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, maybe a couple little statistic stats that they want to try to get to for bonuses, whatever else. But Chris, if you ask me, I mean, it's just going to be tough for them to keep going past half. I don't care if they're in the game or not. I just don't think that they're going to play them. I actually think the Lions, Chris. I mean, we've seen it before at the end of a season, where teams, could care less. I think the Lions could win this game here, Chris. It wouldn't really affect their draft status, anything like that. So to me, this is just like you mentioned, it's almost like preseason. I think the Lions have a lot of guys here that want to prove themselves. Goff is going to be back, so a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, how can we not like that? How can we not like that kid? And then you got Jamal Swift. I guess I've been hearing he's going to be on a pitch count, limited snaps. But, I mean, you're going to get more of the Lions than you're going to get more of the Packers. So to me, I think the Lions are in a pretty good spot here, Chris. But, I mean, if you're looking at a game like that, maybe you could bet on the first quarter and look at, like, the Packers and try to just shorten up, what you're looking at. If you want to try to play Aaron Rodgers, I'd feel safer betting on a first quarter than I actually would an entire game if you do want to, back the Packers and go that route. So for me, I would just I would expect Aaron Rodgers to sit out past half.
I got to bust you up a little bit here. You just combined DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams into one running back, Jamal Swift.
That's
So
okay.
I mean that'd be an ideal running back here for the Lions. So you wouldn't have to worry
Jamal
about
and Swift,
it.
Yeah, I should have said
Yeah,
both the end, right?
I'm just messing with you here. It's beers with beer, buddy. I gotta bust you up a little bit. So
Hey, it's just 8.3 beers messing me up.
it'll put a number on you for sure, just like them M43s did. You don't want to end up laying in the weeds. So Spencer, you know what to do here. But other news: Jared Goff likely, actually sounding more optimistic about Jared Goff. So wasn't sounding. There he is. Thank you, sir. Too many of these breakfast stouts, Scott. See, I just combined Stouts and Scott into one. Scouts.
Yeah, see now these breakfast stouts. Do they call them breakfast stouts? Because if you drink 4 of these, it's going to be breakfast time before you know it. You're going to be passed out, wake up, and it'll be time for breakfast.
It's supposed to combine all the good things of breakfast: coffee, a little chocolate. There's ones that even add bacon in the mix, and we'll have to fire
Oh
one of them
boy.
up. That's those get pretty good there. But this is how you start your day. A couple of these get the day going. So do it safely,
I
do it
don't need any more.
responsibly,
I
obviously.
don't
But
need any reasons to drink during the day, Chris. I already, I don't need any more reasons than that. So get me in trouble now, buddy.
all right, let's not do that. So back to the NFL again. Jared Goff, still 50-50, but they're sounding like he has a chance to play. The other big news, Scott, no Lamar Jackson this week. He was ruled out. I don't think to anybody's surprise, hasn't been practicing. A must-win game for the Ravens. We broke down all of the motivations for these NFL teams on Tuesday's show. So if you missed that, go back. We talked about every single team in the NFL, what they have to play for. We also previewed every game on Wednesday's show and kind of tied some of that in as well. But Baltimore, a long shot here to make the playoffs, but Tyler Huntley will be under center there. No Tony Pollard for Dallas. That is a Saturday game. Kyle Pitts, questionable for Atlanta, a big showdown there. With New Orleans, the Saints still have a ton to play for. Kadarius Toney out once again for the Giants, so his season is over. Andy Dalton going to start for the Bears in that game against Minnesota. We thought Justin Fields would be back. Ends up landing on the COVID list, so Andy Dalton gets the last start. Robbie Anderson, game time decision for Carolina. Nick Chubb sounds like he will be playing this week, dealing with a little bit of an injury, but no injury designation for him. Emmanuel Sanders, doubtful in this game against the Jets. Chase Edmonds will miss the game for the Arizona Cardinals. David Njoku, questionable as well for the Browns, along with Kareem Hunt. Antonio Gibson, no injury designation for him, so he'll be back in the lineup. No Ricky Seals-Jones for Washington. Shaq Barrett will miss on the defensive side for Tampa Bay, along with running back Ronald Jones. He is out. So Scott, I know we talked about Keyshawn Vaughn, Le'Veon Bell. I know it's a partial joke there, but those guys are going to be heading up the backfield here. And then Braxton Berrios not looking good here for the Jets in Week 18. So anything I missed, Scott? Anything you want to add? Again, Friday always a big day for these practice reports, injury reports. Those are the majority of the big names.
Yeah, I didn't think. Yeah, I don't think you missed anything there. Going through, I was just kind of looking at my list myself. But yeah, obviously, Chris. I mean, one we really didn't talk about here is Derrick Henry. I mean, that's big. I mean, are we going to play him in DFS this week? I don't know. I mean, they took him off the IR. I don't know if he's going to get any game action, but we already talked about how the salaries are so low for him. $5K on FanDuel. Chris, I mean, even a half. If you knew Derrick Henry was going to get 15 carries and only play a half, Chris, would you play him for 5K?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's 2 touchdowns. I would be utterly shocked if he is on the field for that game. I mean, the only thing you could say is let's get him back in. Let's like you mentioned the other day, let's have him take a few hits, see how it goes. But I don't think it's necessary. You can accomplish that in practice. I don't think in the spot it makes any sense. And I know I've said the opposite with the Green Bay Packers. To me, as far as the Packers situation goes, it's keeping your consistency. It's keeping your routine instead of getting rusty. Even if you come out and you play a quarter, you're still going through your normal routine, getting ready for a game. When you know you're sitting out, sure, you can try to go the same routine and do the same things. It's just not going to happen. I don't think Derrick Henry necessarily needs to get hit. He's not a young back. He's been around a while. It would make absolutely zero sense for them to run him out in this game. So I'd be shocked, Scott. But to answer your question, yeah, if he's 5K, he's going to see even 10 carries. That could be 2 touchdowns. We know he can break one at any point. But I think it's going to be Deonta Foreman, who is one of my favorite DFS plays, and we'll talk more about him on the Sunday show. So actually, the latest on Jared Goff now is probable here, Scott. So I'm kind of with you now. I like the Packers with the spread sitting about 3.5 now, but it might make more sense just to hit that first quarter. They get out to a good start. Backups come in. We see Detroit make their run, likely win the game. So Detroit money line bet might not be a bad way to go here along with that first quarter on Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, just like we mentioned, before in our last show, that's why we want, there's so many different options nowadays for sports bettors. I mean, I was just trying to pull up here what that spread is in that Packers game in the Lions first quarter. But yeah, just they don't have it up there yet. But
Yeah, they don't have anything
uh,
up yet.
yeah, I was just trying to see if we could get something. But you know what? You'll probably get that at a pretty decent line, Chris. I mean, it may even be even, maybe -1, -2, something around those lines. You're going to get Green Bay's best shot like we see in a preseason game. I mean, all they got to do, Chris, is win 7-0, 7-3, and you'll probably even cover that. I don't expect it to be much higher than a few points, but I think that's what I would look at. And then I would think, maybe even in this game, this is a situation too, Chris, where like live betting situation. I think this is a good week. Live betting can come into play. If you kind of already have in your set in your mind that certain guys are probably going to sit out, and then you kind of see that, playing out, or maybe a team's out to a lead, maybe by a touchdown, or and like let's say Green Bay gets out to a lead, Chris, here by maybe 10 points here, and then that they're going to sit Rodgers and everybody else. It wouldn't be a bad bet. You'd probably get the Lions on the live money on odds at halftime at a pretty good number. So I think there could be a lot of situations that arise this weekend where that the game dynamics are going to change because certain players are going to be out. So let's try to take it to our advantage and maybe have that in mind before it comes up. Know what that situation is going to be. Hey, if this happens at this and I see it and these guys are out, maybe or potentially could be out, then I'm going to be looking at a live game odds or something like that. I try to do that in my mind if I see it. Like, hey, if I know this team is down, I think they should win. I'm looking at what those live odds are going to be because, there are many times, especially NBA, stuff like that, you see a team get down. You just know it's inevitable. A team's going to just probably win the game. I think there's a lot of situations like that, Chris, you can take advantage of. And I think in this week, in week 18 in the NFL, just knowing teams are going to start sitting players, I think the books don't know how to adjust to that because they don't know when these guys are going to be in and out. So if you get a good gauge, maybe you have a feeling, and you feel as if Rodgers may be out after a quarter, like we mentioned, just bet on the first quarter. But I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to look at this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. No quarter lines out there as of yet. Those normally come out closer to Sunday. So Sunday morning, these are some of the things we're going to be looking at and talking about. So if you're looking to expand your sports betting, find more things. Again, we're trying to add more props, more ways to bet these games. As the old FanDuel logo suggests, more ways to bet, more ways to win. That money line on Detroit, if that is something you're looking at, plus 142 here in the FanDuel Sportsbook. So, I don't hate the double dip, Scott. The Green Bay first quarter and Detroit for the win. So we'll see what those numbers look like as we get closer to Sunday. But before we get to the NBA here, Scott, 9 games on the docket. So we'll talk some DFS. We'll get some best bets going. I know you're a big USFL fan here. So big news for you. The old Michigan Panthers potentially returning here this season, scheduled to kick off in April. All the games will be played down in Birmingham, Alabama, but we got the Birmingham Stallions, the Houston Gamblers, the New Orleans Breakers, Tampa Bay Bandits, New Jersey Generals, of course, the Michigan Panthers, Philadelphia Stars, and the Pittsburgh Maulers all back in action. So thoughts on this real quick. Are you going to be watching if this happens? We've seen some of these leagues come and go, and I've watched a lot of these the last couple seasons. Some of the football is good. Some of it is atrocious, but I know you're a big Michigan Panthers guy going back way back in the day. So thoughts on the potential return here of the USFL?
Yeah, I mean, Chris, when I was younger, I mean, I was into the Panthers. I mean, Bobby Haber, Anthony Carter. I mean, they had those sweet gold and purple, whatever kind of looking uniforms they had back then. They won the championship. It was the only stinking championship we can even lay our hat on if you want to have that one count, but around here. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, Chris. I mean, at that time of year, we really only have baseball like through the summer. I mean, we get, the end of the playoffs up until like June for hockey and NBA. So if that season goes on there for those few months and give us a little bit more than baseball, I'm all in. I mean, we'll see. I don't know what kind of league it'll be, if it'll be upcoming stars, maybe be some older guys that are trying to hold on to a career and maybe get an opportunity in the NFL. But yeah, I'm sure, like we mentioned, maybe there'll be some DFS. Maybe we can get some betting on it. But yeah, sure, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a good time of the year. I mean, if you go back and look at some of the history and what happened with the USFL, they tried to sue the NFL. They won $1. I mean, there was so many different stories that came back out of that USFL. I think Donald Trump owned the New Jersey Generals, and you just kind of look back at the stories there. So interesting, it's coming back. We'll see if it makes it, Chris. But Michigan, I hadn't even seen where they were playing their home games, but I think that would be interesting. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Hey, if it's summertime, Chris, out there, maybe May or June, I might pack up the truck and go down and maybe watch a game. I mean, we won't have to freeze our ass off. I'm assuming it'll be an outdoor stadium, but definitely interesting. I'll see what happens there.
It's the note says they're going to play in Birmingham. So I don't know if all the games are going to be played there or not. So we'll see, but something to keep an eye on. We know the XFL also on the horizon. The Rock ended up buying the XFL. If you hadn't heard, I believe that was a year or two ago. So they'll be back on the gridiron as well. So to me, more football is okay. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that maybe aren't NFL quality. Their college career is over. Can still provide a lot of entertainment. Could still play at a very high level. And I think more outlets like this, besides the CFL, things like that, is good for the game of football. So some people say too much football. I love football personally, Scott. So the more the merrier, the more the better. I'm happy to see this return. So we'll keep an eye, and we will definitely be talking some USFL. If there's ways to bet on it, Woodward Bets is going to find a way to have you guys covered. So don't you worry about that. But Scott, let's talk some NBA here on the show. Not a ton going on in the sports world, as we know, on a Friday night. So we do have a lot going on in the NBA, and as always, a ton of injuries. So let's run through what we know. Let's got to start with Utah, Scott. No Donovan Mitchell, no Rudy Gobert, no Mike Conley. I could continue going on and on and on. The Jazz are going to be without potentially half of their team here tonight. So Jordan Clarkson may be the last survivor. He is questionable here, but if he plays, he's the guy you're going to have in your lineup tonight. Rudy Gay, another guy that you can look at there for Utah. Dallas going to be without their two big guns, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. Kyrie Irving going to sit out here tonight for the Brooklyn Nets. No Anthony Davis once again. For the Lakers, Portland going to be thin. No Damian Lillard, no CJ McCollum. Trae Young, questionable. So we'll see if he's able to give it a go here in this game tonight. Drew Holiday going to miss for Milwaukee. They're also going to be missing some other guards, Pat Connaughton, Dante DiVincenzo, George Hill. So they are really going to be thin at the guard position in Milwaukee here tonight. And that, I believe, is the majority of the injuries. No Derek White for San Antonio. And that's about all I am seeing here. So, Scott, we got to start with Utah. Milwaukee, they get Giannis back, but they're going to be missing all of their guards here. So you want to go there. Portland, somewhere that we can look, obviously, with no Lillard and McCollum, but lots of teams thin, lots of injury situations we can capitalize here in DFS.
Yeah, you got to start with Jordan Clarkson. I think he's a guy you got to look at. Brunson's another guy you got to probably look at tonight. And if I'm going to pay up for a spend up, as we always talk about, stars and scrubs, I think I would start with the Joker, maybe Giannis, and then try to fill it in from there. Maybe like a Rudy Gay tonight would be interesting. Javonte Smart, I think, is another guy you could look at. Maybe even a Bobby Portis, I think, would be interesting for your Bucks. But I think lots of value to be had on the Bucks and the Mavericks here. So Clarkson is a guy, though, Chris, I think I'd have to definitely have in my lineup after seeing the usage he should get today.
Yeah, I was trying to find some props for Jordan Clarkson. Nothing yet. So that's something I would certainly be hunting down. He's going to have to be probably a 30-point scorer for them tonight. Now, we'll see that they even have enough guys to field the team. We've seen this scenario before, and the game ends up getting canceling. So hopefully that's not what happens here. But if you can find a scoring prop on Jordan Clarkson, that's certainly something that I'd want to lock in. But I agree with you. I think your lineups tonight have to start, especially in cash games, with Clarkson if he gives it a go, with Jalen Brunson, and probably with Rudy Gay. You could even make an argument for Hassan Whiteside at center with Rudy Gobert out there for the Utah Jazz. As far as spend-ups go, you mentioned the Joker. Giannis is always in play. James Harden without Kyrie Irving, I think you can go that route. So those are the primary plays here tonight for us in the NBA. Joel Embiid, you mentioned Portis. So stars and scrubs lining up once again here tonight, Scott. So again, you want to be different. from that, don't be afraid of the old fair and balanced lineup. And that would include guys like Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, some of those guys in the mid-range that may not get as much ownership as some of these other guys. Tim Hardaway Jr. for Dallas stands out as an option there. So a lot of ways you can build lineups, but the general lineup tonight will be all of these value guys and some of the studs. Do a balanced lineup, get yourself a little different in tournament. But cash games, make sure you have Jordan Clarkson if he's playing. Make sure you have Jalen Brunson. Those two are definitely your anchors. So anything else here in the NBA, Scott? Are we ready to hand out some best bets here? I got some props I'm really liking tonight.
Yeah, the NBA has just been so stinking tough. But Chris, I saw something on Twitter the other day. I had to laugh about the Joker. I guess they were talking about Rudy Gobert trying to guard him or something like that, and they got the ball into him, and somebody yelled, "Give him some help," and he yelled, I got it," and the Joker held the ball and said, "Man, I've already got 47. What do you mean you got it?" Like they were laughing. He was like making fun of him, so they were just saying how he likes to have fun when he's out there playing. So, I mean, the Joker's just a guy. Yeah, you're gonna have in your lineups. I think he's a pretty good play. But I just saw that. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So I saw something else, someone laughing about how big he was or something. I forget who said it, but Joker still playing at an MVP level. I mean, dude looks more like us than a professional athlete. Just some big burly looking dude out there, but the guy continues to put up numbers at an incredible pace. So before best bets, let's check back in here on the Founders Breakfast Stout, Scott. So let's have you rate it. I don't know that we've done this yet, but
pretty much gone.
let's say 1 through 10 on your scale, whatever you want that scale to be. What do we give the Founders Breakfast Stout here?
So I'll go by, we all know I like the M40. I'm gonna say that one was a 8.5. We'll give the M43 a 8.5, and I'll give this one a 6.5.
Okay, 6 was my guess there behind the scenes. So this is a different style than you're used to, and then the 8%ers will catch up to you.
If it's below 5, I won't like it. We'll put the 5 at the below line. The no like line.
The two-hearted fall below that 5.
No, I'd say the two-hearted would be about a 5.5, maybe a 6. I'd say I like this one a little better than the two-hearted, but I would drink the two-hearted if like I said, if you would hand me one, that's all I had to drink for the day, I wouldn't have a problem. But I'm sure there's going to be one or two you might give me that I'd probably say nah, and when we got off, I'd probably dump it down the sink. But not too often I would dump a beer down the sink. But yeah, I don't mind this one. This one, I mean, you definitely have to like coffee. If you don't like coffee, you wouldn't care for this one.
And this one a little bit more bitter. There's sweeter stouts that bring out more of the chocolate and caramely and cinnamon and things like that. So we'll try to work some of those in. Again, be the Pandora of beers here.
And I gotta say, I mean, don't go by what my initial face reaction is, because I like like apple crown and peach crown, and if I did a shot of that, I'd make a face too. So, but I do like stuff like that. I mean, it's just the initial. Sometimes you get that. Oh, it just gets you sometimes. But yeah, I mean, if I was to do a peach crown or apple crown, you'd probably see me make a face. Tequila too. I mean, I'm always making faces, but I don't mind a good tequila shot.
All right, little shock to the system. So I get it. I do the same with shots, man. But best bets. It's Friday night. The people want to sit back with their Founders Breakfast Stout. No Pistons to suffer through tonight. They need some winners here. So Scott, I'm going to let you lead off here. Normally I'm spreads, totals, and we're not getting away from that. But I'm going to go prop heavy tonight in my best bets. But what do you got here? Best bets for Friday night. Give the people some winners.
Chris, I got 2. I'm going to start an early game at 7 o'clock. I'm going to roll with the 76ers at home minus the 7.5 in some spots. San Antonio has just been struggling all year. I think Embiid is going to have his way in this game, so I really like that one there. And then the other one I'm going to roll with, Chris, I'm going to bounce it back here with the Dallas Mavericks at Houston. I think they're just much better team here. I think only the 2 here. I think that's a little light. So I'm going to roll with Dallas on the road in Houston in a short little trip across state over there. So I'm going to take the Mavericks, and I am going to roll with the 76ers.
I like it. 2 games I like as well. All right, I'm going to give you, let's see, I'm going to give you 3 player props. There's quite a few that I like. Maybe I'll work a 4th one in here, but I'm going to start with Dallas. Like you said, Jalen Brunson, I think has to be a big part of this offense. I also like Tim Hardaway Jr., but give me this Jalen Brunson over 20.5. There's a little bit of juice on it here on FanDuel at minus 118, but Scott, his numbers go through the roof when those 2 guys are out. This guy's going to put up a ton of shots. So Jalen Brunson over 20.5 points. I'm going to go to the Bucks here next. Again, we mentioned how many guards they're going to be missing. Yes, Giannis is back, but there's these tools out there that you can run numbers and see what it looks like with some guys not playing. And when the guys that are out for Milwaukee aren't playing, surprisingly, Jordan Nwora gets a huge usage bump here. And a guy that's been scoring the basketball at an incredible clip here lately. So I'm not worried as much about Giannis being back. I think Nwora is still going to have to score, help out in that backcourt. So his point prop is sitting at just 14.5 tonight at just minus 114 here. So he's been hitting this prop the majority of nights, 17 the last game, 23 the game before that, 18, 28, 15. I mean, he's done it in about 4 of the last 5 games. So over 14.5 for him. I don't think the books have priced him appropriately. And then I'm going to go out to Portland, Anthony Simons. His point prop is 20.5. I don't hate that, Scott. We know he's been on fire here, but I like his points plus assists at 25.5. He's had 7 assists in each of the last 2 games. So that'll help. If the shot's off a little bit, we know those assists will be there, but he's scored 43 and 28 points the last 2 games. Nothing has changed here tonight. Still no Damian Lillard. Still no CJ McCollum. So you can go with the points. I'm going to go with the 25.5 on the points and assists. So hopefully you guys enjoy these props. Let us know. We can always stick to spreads, totals too. We'll certainly be giving plenty of those. Scott gave you 2 winners. But again, for me, Jalen Brunson, over 20.5 points. A little bit of juice there. I don't mind paying that. Jordan Nwora, over 14.5 points. And Anthony Simons, over 25.5 points and assists. So 5 best bets on the board here, Scott. Final thoughts for the people here. Friday night, we've covered a lot. We covered Eastern Michigan. We covered the USFL. We covered the NFL, the NBA. We had a beer. I mean, we're doing it all here at Woodward Bets. So what do we got for the people? Send them into their weekend, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking to have some fun here on the Woodward Bet Show, Chris. That's what it's all about. I mean, hey, gamble responsibly, as you mentioned, beforehand, many times before. We just want you guys to have fun. That's what we try to do here. But anytime you guys have questions or any kind of, even suggestions for the show, we're always listening. And appreciate everybody listening. Hopefully we have a good weekend, and we'll be back tomorrow. And of course, we'll be back on Sunday for the final week of the NFL regular season, which, Chris, I cannot believe it's already here, how time has flown, just flown right by.
Oh, we've mixed in 100 some shows in between. So it seems like we had just started. It seemed like the NFL had just started. And here we are, first time ever with a week 18. So again, Saturday, tomorrow morning, Scott and Beastie breaking down a lot of college stuff, NHL stuff. So make sure you tune into that. Scott and I back Sunday morning at 9 talking week 18, all about the NFL. So make sure you're joining us for both of those shows. And like you said, you guys got any things you want us to see, you want us to do more of, less of, please reach out. You're not going to hurt our feelings. We've been around long enough. We want this show to be about you guys. You got 3 Twitter handles on the screen here. Pick any of them. Follow them all. Can reach out to any of them here. But follow us at Woodward Bets for sure on Twitter. And thank you for listening wherever you are. So for Scott, for our boy Spencer behind the glass, I am Beer. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you so much for watching the show tonight. Best of luck with your bets and your DFS. Hope you enjoyed the Founders Breakfast, Scott, and everybody out there. And again, thank you for listening. We'll catch you tomorrow here. Have a good night, everybody.